And then we can actually move forward to figuring out what kind of culture we do need, what's going to support our organization and our people the best. And then we can move into starting to design and integrate, which is, usually a much lighter part of the process. And there's a lot of excitement and positivity and optimism in those aspects.
Yeah. I think I touched upon the word alignment before, and we didn't really elaborate on that. And I want to go back to that word, because it's a word that's used a lot in the world, and it's used in a lot of different places. I know for me that the every time I hear the word alignment, I think of my brakes and the wheels on my car, right? I know, no kidding. I do. Yeah. I think about them, and I think about what happens right before somebody tells you your wheels, your tires are out of alignment. You've had some kind of event where you've either swerved or you lost control. And here it is, and I think you mentioned it earlier, the word is coming up with regard to authenticity and culture. Where does that fit in?
Yeah, it fits in with, again, alignment. Not alignment doesn't mean everybody agrees. It's not even really about consensus necessarily. It's about people being willing to seek out common interests and move forward from there. So it's consciously agreeing to move in the same direction. That's a big part of alignment. We consciously agree and intentionally agree that we are going to move forward in the same direction. So while we may not, in the case of culture, we may not agree on every nuance and detail about our culture, when it comes to the big chunks of it, the values, what our strategic goal is that we're trying to move toward, what's important to all of us as people, what is the heart, beating inside of our culture, so to speak. We're going to get behind each other, and we're going to walk together, toward a common goal. And I think that's where alignment fits in with authenticity. And inherent authenticity is this idea, of course, that we're not always going to agree. So an authentic culture is not a culture where everyone gets along all the time and always agrees. And I sometimes hear the word authenticity used in that way, as though we will always agree and it'll always be harmonious. I don't think that's realistic, and I don't think we really want that, because we need some disagreement. We need people to bring things up. It generates energy and passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that this is part of what you're doing and how big this is. We're going to take a short break, everyone. When we come back, we're going to talk with you about, if authenticity is the heart of culture, then what's design? Oh, wait, it's the vision of culture. Stay tuned. And later on, we're going to talk about integration, the mind of culture. We're probably going to skip that next break. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Leslie Fontaine, and my show is Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com. When we're bogged down with our emotions, the hardships that plague us in our relationships, at work, our finances, we literally can't see the higher plane where we could be operating from. Tune in to Leslie Fontaine, Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
I'm Peggy Snow with another Stellar Reflections Minute. Presence, or what we think of as being fully in the moment, is a key element in the process of healing work. As a practitioner facilitating a session, genuine presence takes us out of our heads, where we tend to decide what is and maybe what should be for the client, and moves us into direct experience, where we're available to witness the person in their wholeness. In this receptive realm, our senses are heightened and expanded, allowing us to perceive what's seeking to unfold and to interact in the moment. There's something profoundly powerful that happens when healing is approached in this simple, pure way. Balance can be restored and healing can take place on multiple levels. If you'd like more information about the services we offer at Stellar Reflections, visit us at stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence. Claudette Rowley joining me here today. I want to just say to everyone that what Claudette has created is not just a new way to look at organizations, to look at what's working, but also to work with organizations in a way that engages people, that, has an air about it so that people might show up and have a voice in what's happening in the organization in a way that's safe, but yet is also heard. Because this is not about just popping in there and listening to stories. Now, that's what we're talking about now, is that from those stories, there is a design that emerges. And Claudette, you call design the vision of culture. And isn't that really key? Isn't that really what's different here? Is in authenticity, you're pulling in both the climate and conversations about culture. But now we're going to go to what do we do next?
Exactly. What do we do next? And so we take authenticity, the heart of culture, and we move into the design, right? So we've worked on understanding the culture, what's authentic about it, where we'd like to go potentially with the culture, and now we get to start bringing it to life with the vision of culture. And we start to explore what could this brilliant culture actually look like for our organization, and how can we design an intentional blueprint for how that culture could tactically and strategically and, in everyday life operate within our organization. So we start to take the idea and construct a way for it to come to life within the design process.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times this gets there are 3 phases to the cultural brilliance model: authenticity, design, and integration. And often 1 or 2 of them get missed when an organization decides to shift or change its culture. And sometimes it's the design phase. An organization doesn't know that it needs to intentionally create a blueprint to move this forward. And that's what we try to do here with design, cultural brilliance design.
Yeah. We think so often that when we spend that time, honestly and openly in organizations, one of the biggest complaints that come out of organizations is the fact that why are we going to talk about this stuff when nothing happens? But the model that you have says, wait a minute, if I'm going to work with your organization, not only are we going to talk about it, but we're now going to make sure that what is said is converted into a vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's converted into a vision. And I want to talk with you about how this all comes together, because you've created this model that's on your website where we're looking at vision intersecting with authenticity and what that comes to mean when now we have 2 of these elements, right, together. What are some of the things that happen when we now put vision and authenticity together?
It's huge. It's huge when you start to put vision and authenticity together, right? Because you know what's real and authentic, and then we start to actually, the vision's like painting a picture, depending on how you think about vision. It's like painting a picture about what could be. So I think the design phase is moving from talking about our culture and understanding it to begin to design what it could be. And that's a point where people get really excited usually. You know, we're designing what could be. And that's what the vision is about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as we're looking at the vision and we're looking at, putting this together, we're also looking at some kind of transformation that happens. One that is actually a transformation that requires a different level of consciousness, right?
Yeah, it absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does require a different level of consciousness because you can't, in order to create a brilliant culture, you can't continue to be unconscious, so to speak, to what's going on in your organization. Yeah, as we've talked about earlier in the show today, you have to be truthful about what's going on, even if there are different versions of truth, right? You start to get a kernel of what the basic truth is in an organization and in its culture. So it's a very transformational phase of the process when we begin to design, and people get to see. Seth Godin, who's written many, many books as a marketing guru, probably many people are familiar with, talks about two things that I'm fascinated by: transitions and then breakpoints. And he, in a couple of his blog posts, he talked about each of these. And the transitions was really this idea that as much as we might dread transition and change as individuals or as organizations, a lot of the energy, a lot of the ways we get energy and excitement actually comes from the point of transition or transformation when we think about it. Moving into a new job, leaving a role, getting a new boss, all those things. There might be stress behind it, but it's also a moment in time when there's usually a lot of energy for us. There's a lot of opportunity. And I think the design phase really starts to bring that to life, where people begin to see, oh, even though this is going to be a transition for us, which, yes, transition means change, and a transformation, there are a lot of great opportunities in this. The other thing Seth Godin talks about with breakpoints, is the metaphor of when we have a sidewalk poured along a street. One of the reasons we have the lines, in each block of the cement in the sidewalk is so if something happens, something drops on that, the whole thing doesn't crack because there's a break point every 5 or 10 feet in the sidewalk. And I was so struck by that as a metaphor for cultural design, that we really need to have some break points along the design. So if something's not working well, or something doesn't work as intended, which happens in design, we have a way to relieve some of that pressure. And that's another way people start to understand that this idea of design and vision is what can be, what we're becoming, and also it has some safety valves in place. It has things in place in the design, so if things don't work in the real world as we intended, we can actually come back and fix that. So it's not about being perfect as a culture.
Wow. And, this really then, is leading us to, wait a minute, it's not really perfect. Here we go. But what happens with this is we move to a place where we cannot help, as we're doing the vision, we cannot help thinking about, specifically, especially for a lot of left brain people, it's like, how do I take this and put it into action? And that's where integration comes in, the mind of culture, right? This is where now we've had the conversation about authenticity. We've now set forth a vision that involves people of the organization. And now here we are. How do we put things into place? Because this is where people think they're going to lose something, mostly lose some level of power that they might think they have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, they do. People, and that's one of the big fears, is I will somehow lose something. I'm going to lose power. Yeah, I'm going to lose status. I'm going to lose this job that I love. It could be so many different things as we make this change. And integration is the mind of culture, and it is really about where we begin to make this real.
Mm-hmm.
We've made it authentic. We've designed it. We've created an authentic culture. We've started to design what that can look like. We're hopefully, for doing things right, we've tried it out in a couple of places within an organization to make sure the design works, gotten feedback from people at all levels, again, to make sure it's working for them, and we tweak it. And then we really move into this mind of culture where things come to life.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the mind of culture, because this is really the part of the process that